Hi, my name is Sneaky from Cloud9, and this is my basic champion guide to Misfortune. So, Misfortune in solo queue is pretty strong. It might depend on your elo, actually, for how easy it is to set up your ultis, because I've had a lot of trouble actually landing disgusting ultis, just because everyone's kind of aware of it. They understand that if they stand grouped and don't get out of the ulti, then they're going to get destroyed. So the lower elo you are, the more damage your ulti does, basically. But I think she's pretty good. She's a pretty dominant laner and doesn't really have that many issues until mid-late game, where she can start dying to all the mobility on the enemy team. Besides that, I recommend her for solo queue. Pretty fun champion at the moment. Misfortune's laning is pretty decent, actually. I think it's at its strongest point ever at the moment, because the way her Q works now is it procs her passive, which means it's going to be doing insane bonus damage if you ever kill a creep with it, because her new passive obviously just does bonus damage to every new target you hit. And it actually works a little bit. I haven't actually gotten it down the method of using this, but if you hit a target with your love tap, which is your passive, and then you Q a creep behind it, it actually targets them over anything. So if there's like a bunch of weird creeps in the way, then you can hit them pretty easily. So you can think about that for solo queue, or for laning, sorry. But besides that, your whole goal here in laning phase is just shoot the Q through minions as much as possible. Don't constantly spam it on angles that aren't going to hit, but always be looking for them. And then you can follow up your support pretty easily with your huge E range now, which is really nice. It has like extra 200 range, I think, from 521. Pretty broken. So for team fighting on Misfortune, it's relatively simple. You kind of have to stay around in the back and then look for ultis. It's going to be pretty hard if your team doesn't have CC, so you might just want to try and get as many autos off as possible instead of looking for that ulti and just wait for them to put themselves in the bad spot. But besides that, yeah, you actually do want to switch targets because of how much damage your passive is. If you look at the numbers around team fighting phase, it's going to be doing the same damage as your auto attack. So it's basically, it's pretty close to a Lucian double shot, except it does 2 times the damage of Lucian's double shot, since Lucian's does only like 50% or something. So just be on the lookout for hitting different people. So a tip for Misfortune I have is whenever you're going to Q people, don't only just look for the Q angle, you also have to look at low health minions, which you can set up yourself actually. Like, try and get it low enough so the Q will kill it, and then throw your Q, and your Q will be doing insane damage, like near half-life status off 1 Q. So the runes for Misfortune are the same ones I usually run this patch. I've just been running 12 magic resist, 14% attack speed, 8.5 AD, and 9 armor. There's no real point in trying anything else. You can run a little bit more mana regen, just for more spammable spells, but for the most part, the defensiveness of the full magic resist is pretty good. So the masteries I've been running on every AD carry is 1812. So basically, you just get a bunch of the offensive stats that are relevant to you. So there's the attack speed in the first one, there's the lifesteal second round, there's feast, and then there's just all the AD stats. Like they're pretty simple. The only real differences here in ADs is going to be Bounty Hunter versus Oppression, and I think Oppression is just better because Bounty Hunter is unique champions killed rather than just one guy over. So if you kill their bot lane both, you'll do 2% extra damage all the time, but with Oppression you do 2.5% damage whenever there's CC'd, which is pretty often. There's gonna be pretty rare that there's not CC in the game, so I'm pretty sure it's better mastery. And then you basically take Fervor, which is the keystone mastery, on every AD carry now. There was a time 522 when Warlord's crit was broken, but they nerfed it so it doesn't affect creeps anymore. You can only get the effect on champions. So it's basically just between Deathfire and Fervor, but Deathfire is pretty bad in general for AD carries. So Fervor is pretty obvious here, and then In Cunning, I take Biscuits, I take the Savagery, and then you take Merciless and Dangerous Game. There's not really any choice here. You could take Bandit for the free extra gold, but Dangerous Game's a pretty good mastery. And obviously Savagery over the move speed out of combat is pretty good, helpful early game. That's all for masteries. So skill order for Misfortune's pretty simple. You just max Q, and then W, and then E. You used to max E before 522, 523, just because it increased the slow, and the W max just increased the mana cost and barely gave you an attack speed. But now the W has tons of attack speed on it. The E scaling's still good, but the W is more valuable at the moment. And then for level 1 you take Q, level 2 I would say W. You kind of need the move speed to escape, and the extra attack speed if you want to fight. And then 3, I take another point in Q, and 4 is when I finally take E. And that's the only time I ever take E level 3 is if I still didn't put something in, like I was holding off my point because I didn't want to Q yet, and then there's a fight breaking out that I can't really reach, so then I need to use my E to catch up. But that's a pretty rare one. I would recommend just going 2 points in Q by 3. So item build for Misfortune, it's a little bit up in the air. I'm still messing around a lot with stuff, but for Misfortune, I think I found a pretty good one. It's mainly just going to be you essentially just rush Essence Fever and get it as fast as possible, and then the next item you get is Infinity Edge. The reason you go Infinity Edge second is just because it adds extra crit and the extra AD you want. You don't really want the attack speed of Misfortune because of the way her W works. You just get tons of free attack speed, which attack speed with another attack speed item doesn't really make much sense. Like, yeah, you'll be doing decent damage, but with Infinity Edge, you'll actually start hitting insanely hard with all this attack speed and crit you have. So, Infinity Edge second's really good. Third item is usually going to be Lord Dominic's. I actually hate Mortal Reminder, so don't even buy that. Don't even think about it. I think it's really bad right now. But then if they don't end up having armor or health, which it's very likely they are, but in the case they don't, you can go for either. It's kind of up in the air. It's mainly up to you. If you've played around with the items and you know which ones you like, you can go Shiv, Cannon, one of those. I wouldn't really recommend PD. That sounds kind of awkward. And then the other option is Bloodthirster or Mercurial. Those are fine as well. Just tons of AD just to add to your ability damage and, you know, your fat attack speed from your W. So it's a little bit up in the air, but most of the time it's going to be Lord Dominic's. And then fourth item, it's going to be whichever one of those you didn't get already, or maybe a defensive item if you think you need it, which doesn't really happen that often for me. I'm almost always building full damage items. So yeah, past that, you'll want to get tier 2 boots somewhat later in the game, probably after your second item. Berserker Greaves are a bit harder to buy now, since they cost 800 gold, which is a lot, even though it gives like, I think it gives 5% more attack speed. It's just they're way more expensive and don't really do anything extra compared to the 521. So I'd hold off until second item to buy that. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out the rest of the guides here at lawclass.com.